We're ready to rock?
Ready to rock, baby.
Okay. Let's see how I want to start this. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Mark Ellis Realtor Unplugged, the podcast where we talk about all things real estate. I have a very special guest here with me today. This woman has been in the travel industry for almost 10 years. She is a force to be reckoned with. She is not afraid to jump in a car with a backpack and go travel across the country by herself. Everyone, I just want to welcome Theresa Winters to the show.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, Theresa, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
Yeah. You know, before we started this idea of having you come on the podcast, I was sitting here thinking, like, how did we actually meet? And then I was kind of going through my time frame of things. I think Marisa Sheldon is actually who introduced us.
Possibly.
As friends.
Well, and I know I reached out to another buddy, a mutual friend, when I was like, when travel was not happening during COVID. So I was like, all right, now what am I going to do? And so I wanted to start looking at homes. And that's when you really kind of like, hey, I'll take you under my wing for a minute.
Absolutely. Yeah. You were very intrigued with Airbnbs and investment properties and doing something. But yeah. Anyway, welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you. This is going to be exciting. Just a little bit about your company. Obviously, it's Faraway Places Travel is the name of your company. And you provide traveling assistance to people, right? You're a traveling agent?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people make the joke of, I didn't know travel agents were still around. But I remind them that the more complex that the internet gets and the busier that people get, they value my services a lot more. People are just too busy to spend hours and hours and hours on the internet. The internet's fast, it's complex, it's stressful. So yeah, I help with family travel, group travel, honeymoons, destination weddings, and anything adventure really.
Awesome. How did you get started doing this?
Yeah, so speaking of adventure, when I was going through a divorce in 2016, I started taking numerous solo trips and quickly fell in love with everything travel and wanted to make money doing it. So I purchased a company that had been around for 30 years that was for sale.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, I've owned the company for almost 10 years now and haven't looked back.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know you are always going somewhere. In fact, you just got back from Croatia and... I don't know. I was looking online the other day. You were in a van with your kids traveling across the country. I'm like, this girl doesn't stop.
Yeah. I mean, if I could be gone more, I would. But my laptop goes with me wherever I go. So
that's the nice thing with your job. You can work kind of remotely, right?
Absolutely. And have clients all across the country as well.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine the connections of people that you've met throughout your journey doing this.
Right.
I'm sure the list is very long.
Yeah. It's hard to keep track of.
I could only imagine. So when we talk about travel and travel agents, I know sometimes people have like a misconception, right, of working with travel agents. And I don't know what some of those misconceptions are, but I just know that I've heard other people kind of say things good or bad. What would you say are some of the common misconceptions?
You know, I think the one that I love to chat about the most is that using a travel agent is going to cost much more than booking a trip on their own. So I break it down for clients and remind them whether you book on Hilton.com, for example, or Expedia.com or work with a local travel agent, that commission is already worked into those prices. Oh. So ultimately, you're choosing who you want to support. Do you want to make Hilton bigger? You want to work with Expedia and let them keep their money? Or would you like to work with a local travel agent who is going to be there with you from start to finish during your travel? So that's the biggest misconception, that we're going to cost an arm and a leg more.
Yeah.
Some travel agents do charge an agent fee. I do as well. So that's very small up to a little bit larger depending on the itinerary. But again, that covers my time researching and comparing. I book every single component for my clients. And most importantly, I'm available 24/7 if and when hiccups do happen, because travel is chaotic and it is crazy and it's busier than it's ever been.
I bet.
So more times than not, there is something that's going to happen within that travel. So having someone on your side is really worth that little bit extra that might come across in an agent fee.
See, and I didn't realize that the commission was already built into the price. So that's you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I do. I mean, I even have travelers, clients of mine, that they're very capable of booking something on their own, but they'll reach out and say, hey, can you benefit from this, booking this for us? And I say, absolutely. So they'll let me book it for them.
Yeah.
Because they know it's just helping out a single mother, aka a friend, travel agent, small business owner, all the good stuff. So it's all worked into that price.
Yeah, I had some mishaps myself booking a trip, and I won't discuss that on this show.
Yeah, you
but
shouldn't bring that up.
let me tell you, I wish I had used you, and I'm, exclusively going to use you in the future. But yeah, that was a lesson learned for me.
Yeah.
Definitely trust your people and let them do what they're good at.
Yeah, professionals are professionals, and we got to reach out and branch out to those people in those situations.
Yeah. So I know that you have been to how many states now?
Personally, I've been to 43.
Wow.
My kids are on 38, and our goal is to see all 50 by the end of 2027, which is the year my daughter graduates.
Oh, and you'll get there.
Yeah,
I feel like you go somewhere everywhere.
Yeah, we'll get there for sure.
Yeah.
I'll make it happen.
So that's incredible. What about countries? How many countries would you say you've been to?
Well, I did go back the other day, and from 2016, when I started traveling to today, I've been on over 100 trips.
Wow.
I can tell you that. Countries, I haven't dialed that in yet. I do need to work on that, just kind of like adding that up. But I've been on over 100 trips since 2016. So that's pretty remarkable.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't think that I've been anywhere 100 times, let alone 100 trips. That's crazy.
Well, the hard part is a lot of people will invite me back to a state or a country, and I really want to go, but I also want to see as much as I can. So I try not to go back to the same place twice in those 100 trips. Some of the places I'd revisited again, like Aruba was 3 times, but again, it was an additional trip. So
yeah. I think that is a huge benefit to your clients, though, because you have been to so many different destinations. Mm-hmm. If a client says, hey, I want to go to Mexico, for example, Mexico like the back of your hand, you can suggest different places to go based on what activities the client might want to do. I think that's a huge advantage, that you've kind of been.
Well, and even people associate Mexico with Cancun, and Cancun is Cancun for sure.
Yeah.
But even north and south of Cancun or Puerto Vallarta, opening their eyes to a completely different side of Mexico is what I'm excited about as well. If I can break into that hesitation of checking out a new country, because I remind them, my kids go to these places with or without me.
Yeah.
I go solo, and I'm never going to send a client to a place that I thought would be A, crappy, or B, unsafe. So I really like having that experience of different parts of different countries as well.
And I know you've got a trip booked to Tulum soon, right?
Yes,
yeah.
November, yeah.
November. So what is that trip all about?
So at least once a year, I like to do an adults-only trip. Typically, it's going more into a small group. I've done 60-plus people on these adults-only trips.
Wow.
This one's going to be much smaller, maybe 10 to 20 people, but I put us up in a 5-star adults-only resort. It's beautiful. I create all kinds of off-property experiences. We're going to go to Pablo Escobar's former estate. It's a private beach. The whole estate is filled with eclectic art. So unique stuff like that. I really try to elevate the experience instead of just taking somebody to an all-inclusive trip.
I love it.
But the backside of that is people get to travel with like-minded people, meet new friends, go to a new destination. So it's a really unique experience in that regard as well.
Yeah. You always go top shelf all the way.
Yeah,
so
for
I
sure.
know it's going to be a nice trip for whoever books that. Tough question, and I know obviously you've been to 100 different places. This is going to be a very tough question for you, but is there a particular destination that maybe holds a special meaning to you? And why would it resonate with you on a personal level?
Sure. There are a lot of destinations that do, but really what comes to mind first is Greenland, and people get that mistaken with Iceland. Greenland is the largest island in the entire world. It's very close to Canada and Michigan, but it took forever to get to. And I did that trip before I was even in the travel industry. It was a night of watching Frozen Planet over a bottle of wine, and I was determined to get to this island before it melted away, essentially. So everything online said, don't do it, don't go during the winter, you're going to get stranded there. And I did. The airport was so small that I got a phone call from a little old man, retired. He sounded like, just like, hey, your flight's canceled. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? He's like, just wait for me to call you tomorrow.
Oh, no.
And I just kept waiting for the phone call. And then you got the phone call and they're like, hey, your plane is here. And you just had to kind of hurry and get to the airport. I didn't know where I was, honestly. And so that was really special to me because I proved to myself when I got back on the airplane that I can do something with solo travel, booking itineraries. And honestly, it was a destination where The suicide rate is one of the highest in the world because they're so isolated. There's no main roads. You get around by dog sleds, snowmobiles, or boats. I had to put my boots and my long johns and my snow pants on every single day to walk into town. There was no internet, so it was very remote.
Remote, yeah.
And I got to have a dinner with a Greenlandic family, and so it was very special.
I tell you, you're an inspiration because you just don't care. I mean, you will jump on a plane by yourself. You don't care where you're going, how you're getting there, and you travel so light. I go somewhere for 3 days, I got 5 bags.
Yeah,
you go somewhere for 2 weeks, you have a backpack.
Yep.
How do you do that?
A lot of editing. A lot of editing. And as you travel more and more, you realize what's really important, what you need and what you don't need. So when I do travel, I just do a carry-on and a backpack. And everything that I need fits on that. I tell women and men, typically, if you can't wear something twice, don't pack it. You should be able to wear a pair of shorts twice at least. Women, you've got a sundress where you could throw a cardigan on it or wrap a scarf, throw on a fedora. You can change your outfits many different ways. So a checked bag is just a hassle. It slows you down. It's going to get lost. It's going to cost you extra money. There's just no need for it.
I love that about you. You just don't care. That's awesome. What would you say would be like a travel-related habit or tradition that might surprise some of the people watching?
So when I use the restroom on an airplane, I always wet the paper towel before I leave. And when I step out of the bathroom, I wipe the bottom of my shoes because every bathroom on an airplane is sticky and we know it's not from water. So I get really grossed out with that. So yeah, I have a wet paper towel. When I step out of the bathroom, I wipe it so I don't take that back to my seat where my bag and my purse are. That's my little quirky travel habit.
A very good thing to know. Noted. I'm going to be trying that on my next flight. That's awesome.
I put that vision in people's mind. They're like, you're right. That is kind of disgusting. I'm like, yeah, why would I want to take that back to my seat with me?
I always see the people going down the aisle and they've got the paper towel attached to their shoe and they're trying to, get it off and figure it out. Speaking of that, though, like obviously being in the travel industry, being a travel agent, I know that you try to provide a very luxury experience, as I do in real estate, and I think that's why we get along so well. We're very like-minded that way, but not everything works out, as it should work out. Do you have like a story or an experience of a mishap that ended up being a positive or funny story later? Yeah.
I was heading to Patagonia with a new traveler, a girl that I'd met on another adults-only trip, and she agreed to go to Patagonia with me, and it was like an 8-day trek. So sleeping in tents, all the stuff. And it was a night flight. There was only one flight out a day. We were in Atlanta, and I lost my passport.
Oh, no.
I realized I lost my passport about 15 minutes before the flight was boarding. Again, the only flight of the day, the last flight of the day. Long story short, I didn't have my passport when we went to bed. We went to bed like reeling, like, what are we going to do? I told her she might go on this like trip of a lifetime by herself because the reality of me finding my passport in Atlanta airport is slim to none. Like everyone we talked to, they're like, you're never going to get it back. We got a phone call the next morning. They had my passport at Delta, lost and found.
Wow.
So we got another flight, but again, long story short, we ended up getting bumped up from Comfort Plus to Delta One. So we got beds, we got dinner, we got the Sky Lounge the entire day because we didn't leave till 8 o'clock that night. And now from being in the Sky Lounge, we have like 5 of the best friends that we ever met from Florida that were also going to Patagonia. So It was just this wild, like crying on the floor of Delta because I lost my passport baby moment, like throwing a tantrum to like I was in the Delta Lounge and flying Delta One. 10 hours later.
When one door closes, another one opens.
It was so wild.
But what a good ending to that story, because that could have ended real bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know one thing, too, that you do really well is you travel with your kids all the time. And I think some people might have this misconception that, you can't really have a good time if you're traveling with your kids. You got to be on adults only, blah, blah, blah. At what age did you kind of get them started in travel?
Probably not as early as I wanted to. So I say the sooner the better.
Okay.
There's ways to create a trip that you're going to have fun with your children. And here's what I tell clients all the time. If your kids are happy, you're happy. So you need to know what your kids are into. Now, as a single mother, I have 2 teenagers, a girl and a boy. So it's very different.
Sure.
My daughter can sit in a beach chair and read a book and listen to music all day. My son, we have to have a ball. I have to be throwing a ball on the beach with him. He doesn't want to sit still. So you have to know what your children are into. Again, regardless of the age, there's different reasons to do that. There are definitely people that don't want to start until their kids are old enough to remember, quote unquote.
Sure.
But also getting them into the travel world is just preparing them. Like they're getting exposed to culture, just being polite when mishaps happen. My kids see me like have to deal with customer service, maybe behind a desk if our room wasn't available like we thought it was. But there's many benefits to get your kids traveling as soon as possible.
Sure.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And like I say, I watch your stories on Instagram and Facebook, and you're posting all these things, some by yourself, some with your kids, and it looks like you're having equal amount of fun both times.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Now it's stressful. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie that every trip, there's at least one point where I'm like, why am I doing this?
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I always look back and think like that was an amazing trip and I can't wait to plan the next one every single time.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't even know how you plan them because you've been to so many places. Like, how do you even pick a spot to go to next?
It's hard.
I
It's
bet,
hard.
especially for you.
It's hard
because you're seeing everybody else book trips too, right? Like your clients.
Yeah.
So it's like
and then I want to go where I'm booking for them because I haven't been there yet.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I would want to be on every trip.
It's a constant battle.
I know. I've often told you, just put me in your suitcase. I want to just try.
If I checked one, I could.
What would you say are some of your day-to-day routines that keep you grounded? In when life is kind of lifing.
Coffee first.
Okay.
CrossFit is a new love of mine. Absolutely love CrossFit community and the workout, and prayer.
Yeah.
Prayer for sure. I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely an inspiration too. I was also thinking when I was thinking, we were talking about having you on this show. You're involved a lot locally too, like within the community, and I know your kids are in sports and doing different things, and you're at all these events. How would you say like you've grown your business, from where you started to now? Because I feel like your business is like skyrocketed, especially since COVID.
Yeah, it was doubling every year up until COVID, which was fantastic. That obviously put a wrench on things, but travel as a whole is substantially busier after COVID. What's really helped me is just I take care of my clients. I really, really do.
Sure.
And just like you, it's referral, it's repeat customers. That's when you know you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
If you hear, hey, so-and-so recommended, or hey, you booked my trip last year, I would love your help again.
Yeah.
That's just really kind of what I love to hear. I gravitate towards. Sure, I'm always looking for new customers, but at the end of the day, knowing that I'm going to have repeat customers forever, ideally it's getting somebody like maybe when they do their destination wedding / honeymoon, then they adventure together, I get to book that. Then they start a family, I get to book that. Now they're retired, I get to book that. So that's the ideal situation.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's just how I've been able to manage it. And just, plugging away with sports and the kids locally is always, it's a great way to connect with families.
You truly have clients for life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you take care of people, they're going to take care of you. And I've always ran my business that way. Last thing I wanted to mention, I know you and I have talked about it a little bit. You've mentioned this book that you want to write or you're going to write. Have you started this thing yet? Because I feel like it would be full of so many interesting stories.
Yes, I've started it. And the unfortunate thing about writing a book is when it's not your priority and it's not your bread and butter, it's the first thing to get put aside. So I've started, picked it up, put it down, said I'm not going to do it, said I should do it. And then there's all these other things that I want to do in life as well. So it's a maybe at this point. I know it would be full of fantastic stories, like remarkable stories, but it's a lot. It's really, really hard. It's self-motivation, which I have. But again, that's usually for my business and my kids.
Sure.
So maybe one day, we'll see. Maybe when I'm sitting on a beach and half retired, I'll be working on that book again.
I'm going to encourage you to do it because I feel like it would be good.
Yeah, it'll be good.
I would definitely read it. I want a signed copy if you come out with one.
All right, deal.
Well, anyway, it was nice having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming. Anyone that's looking to book travel, Theresa can help you with that. She does an amazing job. She will make sure if there are issues or problems along the way that they get handled very quickly and efficiently. But I really don't think there's going to be very many problems if you use her for anything. So she's definitely a force to be reckoned with in the travel industry.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the show. For all the other listeners out there, if you like what you saw, please like us on all social media platforms. We are also on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and anywhere else you listen or watch podcasts. Obviously, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of those things. Thank you guys for watching and have a wonderful day. What do you think, Chris?
Easy.
Great.
Easy
Great
peasy?
work.
Cool.